حبيبي رب العالمين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. For those brothers in Itikaf, we have been every day after Asr since the beginning of Ramadan. We have been going over this book of Imam Abdul Wahhab al-Sha'rani rahmatullahi alayh called Al-Anwar fi Adab al-Suhbah, the illuminating lights on the etiquettes of companionship. And so it speaks about the different, ways, etiquettes that we should be with our Muslim brothers and sisters. At the beginning, he had many ahadith that he brought, many sayings of the pious elders, and now he has about 68 points, of which we are on around page number 23, of these rules of companionship. So, as we've done in years past, we're just taking a book and going through it and benefiting from the wisdom of the ulama of our ummah. So he says, وَمِنْ حَقِّ الْأَخِ عَلَى الْأَخِ أَلَّا يَغْفُلَ عَنْ عِيَادَتِهِ إِذَا مَرِضَ وَلَا عَنْ خِدْمَتِهِ لَا سِيَّمَا فِي اللَّيْلِ. So he says that, and from the rights of brotherhood is that one should not be neglectful of visiting his brother when he's sick and from assisting him, especially during the night, right? Now it's gonna also, all of these things are obviously with, in terms of, you have to maintain parda and all of that, but it is something that we do neglect at times, visiting the sick. We have some brothers here that are like very, very good about it. Brother Kamil, Brother Asim, like for years, they would even go to the hospital and visit people, but it's few and far between. We don't really have a culture of doing this, and we should. If we find out, that somebody who comes to the masjid who we see regularly, like they're a part of our lives, and all the people that we see here, if we find out that they're sick, we should make an effort to go and try to visit them. And also he says, and to try to assist them in this time. It could be something as simple as asking, okay, do you need anything? Can I bring groceries to your house? Okay, our children go to the same school. Will it help you if I pick up your children, if I drop off your children to school, if I pick them up from school? If kids go to, some after school program, should I take them there? Little things like this. And even if it's the wife that's sick, many a times the wife is doing the driving. If you come to know it, if your wife mentions that, so-and-so's wife is sick, then just ask the husband, I know things might be tough for you at home. Is there anything that I could do to help you? It's very, important, and it's something that we may overlook. وفي الحديث, in the hadith it says, ما من رجل, this hadith is narrated by Imam Abu Dawud and Imam Tirmizi. ما من رجل يعود مريضا ممسيا إلا خرج معه 70 ألف ملك. There is no man who sets out in the evening to visit his sick brother except that 70,000 angels accompany him. Now this number 70,000, usually it's used to just mean a lot, but a huge amount of angels will go with you when you go to visit a Muslim brother who's sick. يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ لَهُ حَتَّى يُصْبِحَ. And these angels will make dua and istighfar and ask for forgiveness for this man until the morning. وَمَنْ أَتَاهُ مُصْبِحًا, and the one who goes by day, خَرَجَ مَعَهُ 70 أَلْفَ مَلَكٍ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ لَهُ حَتَّى يُمْسِيَ. The same thing. 70,000 angels will make dua for this person all the way until the evening when they go and visit a sick Muslim brother. وَيَنْبَغِي لِلْآعِدِ أَلَّا يَأْكُلَ عِنْدَ الْمَرِيضِ. And it is appropriate, and it's munasib and appropriate that the one who is visiting does not eat at the house of the sick person. ففي الحديث, because in the hadith it says, إِذَا عَادَ أَحَدُكُمْ مَرِيضًا فَلَا يَأْكُلْ عِنْدَهُ شَيْئًا. That when one of you visits a sick person, they shouldn't eat anything. Now this hadith, it needs some context. Some cultures, if you go to the person's house and you don't eat, they'll become more sick afterwards because they'll be insulted on top of that, right? So it doesn't apply there. This hadith is telling us that you should not inconvenience the person who's sick. So if they're going through takalluf because somebody has come to their house trying to get some food out for you, you shouldn't eat. The other thing is, there's also a sunnah of visiting. There's an etiquette when you visit a sick person. And one of the etiquettes is that you go for a very brief amount of time. You encourage them. You say, La ba'asa, tahurun insha'Allah. Nothing will happen to you. Inshallah, this will be a purification of your sins, etc. You'll get better. You make dua for them, you leave. You don't sit there for hours and hours upon end unless you and that person are that close. And that's going to be based on years of history. Otherwise, don't assume you're that close with that person. Sometimes you think that you're very close to somebody and they're not. I believe it's about Abdullah bin Mubarak, but really every story people say it's about Abdullah bin Mubarak. But it was a great scholar. Somebody, they came to his home to visit him. He's a big sheikh, so a lot of people are coming to visit. But there's that one eager beaver, overzealous guy that's like sitting by his side and is basically become like the gatekeeper. And then he sensed, people are visiting. So he said, Sheikh, these people keep coming. Should I close the door? So then he found his opportunity. He said, yeah, close the door, but close it from the outside. Go outside and close the door from outside, right? So we shouldn't inconvenience a person also when we visit them. ومن حق الأخ على الأخ أن يرشده إلى الوصية إذا حضرته الوفاة ولا يتبع الحياء الطبيعية في ذلك والفائدة في ذلك معلومة. And from the rights of brotherhood is that if you could tell that your brother is terminally ill, or it looks like they're not going to make it through the sickness, or there's a chance of that, you advise them to make a will. And a person should not let haya and the natural awkwardness that you may feel in those circumstances prevent you from saying that, because the benefits of a will are very well known. Sometimes we learn two things from here. Number one, if you really love a brother for the sake of Allah, you won't shy away from difficult conversations. If a difficult conversation needs to be had, you will be willing to deal with whatever awkwardness may come as a result of that and tell them what needs to be said. Right? You could be real with them, as we talked about, a few days ago, that you need a real friend is one who can be real with you. You could tell the person, okay, yeah, fine, inshallah, you'll heal, but all signs are against that, right? And anything short of, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, causing something that everybody would term as a miracle happening, you're not going to make it, right? Or there's a high likelihood you're not going to make it. Do you have a will? Get these things in order. Do you have relatives that you're not talking to, that you have a strained relationship with? Call them and set things straight now. You have to kind of take that step and bring it up, right? So, and the second thing that we learn over here, related to the will actually, is that because if you don't do that, you're going to cause this person's family a lot of harm after death, right? Families are torn apart because of inheritance, right? So swallow the little awkwardness that there is and encourage them to do that. The second thing that we learn from this is that a lot of times we may feel awkward, we may feel that it's not our place to say something, but this is what brotherhood is. Again, brotherhood is not just, you barely know the person. You, throughout life, you are a companion of this person. You spent a lot of time with this person. So now, at times when things are awkward, you may feel awkward, but you cannot let that stop you, right? You can't let these feelings of shyness that come in us to say certain things stop us from speaking the truth. Wallahu la yastahi min al-haq. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't shy away from these things. We'll read two more, and then we'll stop inshallah. ومن حق الأخ على الأخ أن يسهر عنده إلى الصباح إذا كان في حالة تفضي إلى الموت. And from the rights of brotherhood is that the brother spends the night with him. إذا كان في حالة تفضي إلى الموت. If he's in a condition that it may lead him to death. فربما كان الأجل في ذلك الوقت. Because sometimes the person passes away at night. فيفارقه على وفاته بحقه. So that he departs for him while fulfilling his right and duty towards him. So now if you know that a person is sick, you should be there. Be ready to help at those last moments. Now, you will have to obviously have to read the situation. If his wife wants to be in the room and it's not appropriate for you to be there, you could still stay in the house, for example. so that when that moment hits, that difficult moment, you could be the one that's composed. You could be the one. In America, there's so many things you have to do. You have to call the doctor, you have to get a death certificate, you have to call, you have to arrange for the funeral director to come. All of those things need to happen. And for the family at that very difficult time, 100 things are going through their head, and on top of that, they have all of the logistical things. If you know that they're in a situation like this, if you stick around and you're there to help, you can assist them with things like that, right? And that's what we can learn from this. وَمِنْ حَقِّ الْأَخِ عَلَى الْأَخِ. This is interesting, and I guess it's relevant because, like 80% of this masjid is Hyderabadi, and 80% of Hyderabadis are Sayyid, really are not, right? But over here, this is related to that. وَمِنْ حَقِّ الْأَخِ عَلَى الْأَخِ أَن يُصَدِّقَهُ إِذَا انْتَسَبَ إِلَى أَحَدٍ مِنَ الْأَكَابِرِ. That from the rights of brotherhood is believing his brother if he claims to be a descendant of one of the great luminaries, min awliya or ulama or umara, whether they be from the great friends of Allah, or from the scholars, or from the leaders. And so obviously the greatest of all of these is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. ومن وصية الشيخ محي الدين ابن عربي إذا انتسب أخوك إلى أحد من الأكابر. Ibn Arabi, he advised, if your brother claims to be a descendant of one of the luminaries, فَاحْذَرْ أَن تَطْعَنَ فِي نَسَبِهِ. You should avoid discrediting his claim and saying, man, you're not a Sayyid. Where's the proof that you're a Sayyid? For example, وَلَوْ فِي نَفْسِكَ. Even if it's just in your mind, you shouldn't even think about that. فَتَدْخُلَ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ الشَّخْص وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. Otherwise, you may inadvertently become an interloper amongst that person, Allah and the owner, وبين صاحب الفراش, and the صاحب الفراش, فتقع في اسم كبير بل ورد أن الطعن في الأنساب كفر. Because it's been related that discrediting someone's lineage is akin to disbelief. This صاحب الفراش, this is a fiqhi thing that's discussed in the hadith, but basically if a person is claiming that they are descended from so and so, and you are saying, no, you're not, it may be that they are really descended from so and so. And by you saying no, you are discrediting his forefathers. And you are saying that the father is somebody other than he's claiming to be, the forefathers. And this is a major sin in Islam. And though it might not be direct, though you may be doing this for several generations back, even then it's a major sin. And since the bonds of brotherhood are something that are delicate, a person has to tread very lightly. So, yes, when it comes to Sayyids though, the one thing I will say, in zakat, you're not allowed to give zakat to a Sayyid, but I don't know, some ulama have been relaxed about it because they say they don't really keep track. But if a person really knows, like they're Sayyid, they have the shijra, everybody acknowledges them as Sayyid, then you shouldn't give them zakat. You could give them, you could give them gifts, you could give them hadiyah, you could give them sadaqah. There are some ulama from the different mazahib who say that you can give the Sayyid zakat, but it's a minority in every mazhab, right? And it's better that the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we honor. Not every dollar that we give needs to be zakat money, because that's what we're talking about the khutbah today, right? Zakat is not a tax. It's not that, okay, can I use this money to get a tax credit, to get a zakat credit? It's not the case. It's a Sayyid. It's a family of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you know it. Give some sadaqah and Allah, or give some hadiyah to them, not expecting anything out of it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you so much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala